Hello nerds and welcome to Into the Wild, your favourite wildlife and conservation podcast where we look at all things, well, wildlife and conservation.
This is a podcast of curiosity where we know we don't have all the answers.
Oh, that's my co-host Nadia, by the way.
Hi. But it doesn't really matter because we're here to learn and crucially listen to those who are affected by and closest to the issues that we as conservationists tend to pick over from our comfy living rooms.
So strap yourselves in, open up your luggles, grab a brew and join us as we geek out over nature, share our love for wildlife, rarely take ourselves seriously, all whilst learning. Oh, and we sometimes swear. That's nice, that. Do you drink Red Stripe?
Oh, yeah. If one passes me by.
It's quite a London beer, actually, Red Stripe.
I'm actually having a boycotted beer, so...
Why would you out
Why would you
yourself?
admit it? Because do you know what, Ryan? On this podcast...
Oh, here we go.
But on this podcast, we don't pretend. We're not pretenders.
I am.
Are you?
Yeah.
I'm drinking Brewdog. That shit's
Are you drinking Brewdog? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
It was the cheapest.
It could have been worse.
It was the cheapest.
Could have been Heineken.
Is that boycotted as well?
That's one of the bad. Yeah, bad ones.
Is it bad?
Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah. Stay away from that. Like the plague.
Oh, well. Look, I'm planting a forest in Scotland that no one wants.
Would you rather see a capercaillie or be at a ceilidh dressed all in kappa?
Well, seeing as though I have seen a capercaillie and my parents wouldn't buy me kappa.
They wouldn't buy you. They were against kappa.
Because it was rude.
Yeah, it did have tits in it, didn't it?
It had tits in it. And I've got a Muslim dad.
So you'd pick the ceilidh dressed in kappa?
I would do that right now. I think I would go up in my cool credentials.
I think, even though your Instagram, which is popping up a bit more recently, may I add.
Sorry, thank you. Kappa reference, I get it. Yeah. I would have killed for a pair of poppers when I was 14.
But I think, even though it's a nature-based, like, you put a lot of nature content on there, I think a picture of you at a ceilidh dressed in kappa would do better than a picture of a capercaillie.
There's only one way to find out.
I also think we could sort this out quite easily.
Do you know how hard it is to see capercaillie? Are you just...
No, I mean to sort out the ceilidh and the kappa. I think that's really easy to sort.
What, the capercaillie? The kappa?
The ceilidh kappa.
Where am I? What would you rather?
I'd rather have the ceilidh and the kappa.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I just want to wear kappa.
Hey, for Bird Fair next year, for our live show,
should we both go in vintage kappa?
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
put that on the right to roam. Not right to roam.
Not right to roam. Put your other hat on.
Sorry, hang on a minute. Let me just put my hat on. Put that on the Into the Wild budget.
How was your day today? Out of interest.
Well, it was a very Friday. So I had a beer at 2, and then I had a beer at 3, and now I'm on my 3rd beer.
It's a Friday.
It's one of those Fridays where everybody's being silly. And so everybody's being silly, and it's impossible really to get any work done. Yeah,
I think we're at the part of the week now with everything going on. I think you're just like 4-day weekend, please.
I'm having one. I mean, to be honest, I can't charge for any hours I did today.
You don't have to out yourself like that.
Oh, okay. All right. I was going to say something even worse, but I just thought myself. Anyway.
Well, nerds, here we are. 3 pint in, Nadia. Let's see how this episode goes.
Well, this is why we don't usually record on a Friday.
There's a reason why. Okay, let's go into nature highlight. What's been your nature highlight since I last spoke to you, Shake?
My nature highlight is a really lovely one. I'll just say that off the top.
Is that, yeah?
Well,
as opposed to...
Like your stupid one from last week.
You're going to bring that up again and again,
I'm never going to let that down. Never has a wildlife podcast ever given such shitty nature news. We were both bad last week. Anyway, so it was. I led a something I do sometimes. But I gave a guided walk, bird watching walk, to a bunch of people who aren't bird watchers. Which
okay, that's nice.
Which is just always really nice because they remind you how. It's just one of those things that pulls you out of your own head, because I'm just like, there's just a gold crest. Just a gold crest? Do you know what I mean? But actually, a little gold crest, and you could talk to them about it, and people like observe this amazing little tiny bird, which is really stunning, which you take for granted. And so often when you get to share the thing that, honestly, like, there's not a lot of skill I've got in life. So when I can share the skill I've got, it is a lovely experience.
Why are you self-hating like that? We don't do that.
Well, because, like, people often, like, have gifts to give and things to share, and then you're like, I can give you a bird watching walk if you like.
No, look, don't self-hate. Like, that's why I'm here.
Well, hopefully
don't do it
I've
to yourself.
bypassed it and now you can't.
That is the comedian's trick, by the way. You make the joke first so the audience can't, yeah.
The comedians have a trick book, do they?
It's not a trick book, but, like, I'm 6'7", had long ginger hair, so I would reference my height quickly
before anyone else got the chance to
do it. Yeah. It's like a...
You're tall. Is it things...
Yeah, you don't have to do it.
Did you ever get that at stand-up gigs?
Yeah, of course I did, yeah. Well, no, because I did the rule of, bringing it up first. But it's kind of something you fade out of the more popular as a comedian you get. Do you know what I mean? Or if you go straight on and just bam, 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 straight away, it's like you don't give the audience a chance. So.
Okay.
A little bit of comedy chat there for you.
Well, I've just been writing a blog. I won't tell anybody what it is because it's an anonymous blog. But there's something I wrote in it about small talk, where I get so awkward in small talk whenever I meet people that know who I am, but I don't know who they are. That's not a flex. That's just like...
There's a flex.
It's not a flex.
It is a flex. But carry on.
But then what...
You can flex on this podcast. It's your podcast. You can do what you want.
But then what you do is you make a fool of yourself. Because I don't know anything about you, so all I can do is make fun of my own self. It's a weird thing that happens. Do you get this?
No.
Yeah, but it's like the comedian thing, right? You just be like, well, I'm an idiot. It's a really uncomfortable thing.
Have you ever seen me in a social setting say that?
Come on, give me your nature highlight.
My nature highlight: buzzard, juvenile, low,
proper bird.
Just 3 words: proper bird, proper. The juvenile was being chased by the corvids, as happens, and it flew about 20 foot above my head.
But they've got a very I don't give a shit energy, buzzards, because buzzards get mobbed by corvids, and they're just like...
Yeah, they don't care. I mean, they move away, but they don't care. But yeah, it was just nice to see one so low. And also nice to see a juvenile again, which means that another year of them breeding on Hampstead Heath. So yeah, that was really nice. Nice to see that on Hampstead Heath, them breeding again for another year. It was cool.
We love the Heath, don't we?
I do love the Heath. It's a beautiful place. If anyone's visiting North London, I recommend Hampstead Heath. If you want to pay for an extortionately expensive coffee, but also access some nice green space.
Really nice green space. I'm still blown away by the first time that you took me on the Heath, and I was just like, this is insanely peaceful.
It is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It is. The woodland there is so nice.
Yeah, and it's really nice to see, like, people like assume townies don't know how to behave in nature, but yet there is a whole area of the Heath that is cordoned off for wildlife, and people adhere to those rules.
Yeah, and do you know what? Like, it's people. A lot of people stay on the paths. They just do.
In their kappa.
In their kappa, just stay in the paths. I wish. Right, shall we go into this week's nature news then?
Let's deliver the news.
Okay. That's very official. Okay, nerds, strap yourselves in. Here we go. All right. Do you want me to start?
Yeah, you go first.
I'll go first. Did I go first last week? I went first last week. I quite often go first.
Would you like me to go first?
No, I'm happy going first.
Do you want to go
I'll
first?
Go.
Go on then.
It's not a particularly nice story, but I think we could have a nice chat about it. Is that right?
Come on then. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm ready for it. I'm here for the news every week.
But well, it turns out England's in a drought, mate.
What? Why am I wet then?
We were in Scotland. But we a Guardian article reported by Helena Horton this week said that hedgehogs, salmon, and birds are just some animals that are at risk after a dry summer. And it's no surprise that hedgehogs and garden birds are struggling because obviously we all know these animals rely on insects and worms and slugs that require soft, damp soil in the woods. But if it's going to be a drought, it's very dry soil. These insects are obviously not abundant and worms are very deep down underneath, so not accessible for these animals. So food is obviously an issue. And then also there's no drinking water. I mean, we all know the impacts of a drought, right? I don't need to go into details of that.
Do we though? Are we exposed to the reality of it, Dolan?
Well, there's no water, so we can figure out what the issue is.
Well, you turn the tap on and there's water. That's the reality of our experience.
I'm talking from biodiversity. I'm talking about wild kin. Yeah, I'm talking about the animals out of our homes. So it's obviously an issue because there's no drinking water, there's not ponds and stuff. Spawning salmon pools for Atlantic salmon and nutterjack toads have also dried up. Wetland birds such as the shoveler duck and the curlew have also seen their marshy habitats disappear. Natural England also have said that important peatlands have been drying out, and at least 3,000 hectares of land on sites of special scientific interest have been destroyed by wildfire this year, which is a huge amount of land. But the bit I found most interesting, which kind of like drills it home how much of a drought that England is currently in, is that reservoirs fell by 1.4% last week.
It sounds small.
It sounds small, but it's the next percentage that scared me the most, which is they're now at 56.1% full on average across the board in England, but their usual average for this time of year is 82.8%. So that's about 30% decrease. So it's like, I wanted to talk about this. It's also like this summer just gone is the warmest summer on record. Or I'm not going to say warmest, actually, the hottest summer on record since 1884, which is, is a big record to set.
What year was that? Since when?
1884.
That's so many years ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago, yeah. Before me.
Hey, you know when they say since records began?
Do you think that was the year?
Since records began.
But I wanted to talk about this because, I mean, when we did Journey Back to Namibia, we were talking about droughts a lot. And I think...
You couldn't not. It was the third character of our podcast, right?
Exactly, yeah, it was. And I think sometimes in a country like England, and I guess the UK as well, I could talk about it collectively, the UK, even though this report is specifically about England. But, being a temperate country, it's hard to know when a country like this is in drought.
Yeah, for sure.
Like picking that up because it's not a desert and it's not a, or even a semi-desert kind of. It's not a dry environment. It's meant to be wet and damp, so you can be in a drought and still have rain. So it's that perception from the public of really thinking or realizing what's going on environmentally and with our weather and our climate in this country. And I wonder how to connect people to this, because I know even people in my circles will say, you have a day of rain and they'll be like, oh, it's so miserable recently, isn't it? And I know we like to complain about the weather in England. I know that's a thing. It is a hot topic in our culture. But like today in London, it's as we record this now, it's the 19th of September. It's 26 degrees outside today. Which is, I know.
Holy.
But this is a random day. Recently, it's been about 20 degrees, 20 to 21, but it's jumped up to suddenly 26 today. But it's blue skies.
26 degrees?
Direct sun, so it feels
I'm in a different
hotter.
world to you.
I know, and this is it. 300 miles away, and this is quite a big difference in temperature down here. But so I just wanted to talk about the kind of perceptions of weather patterns and drought within the UK, because our nature is not adapting to this quick enough.
So I think we did a story on this before we broke up for summer. Remember that? Before the breakup?
I do remember, yeah.
And I did a story about climate change and spoke through some recurring themes. And I think one of them was we're becoming drier, and there's not been enough data on it yet to confirm that it's associated with climate change, but there is a confirmed downward trend of rain and warmer summers.
Yeah, but that, I don't know. I was going to say something that's not scientifically led, but also
but that's our podcast. That's our brand. Go for it.
Surely it is related. So surely,
I know.
I know. Do we have to have it on paper to know?
Yeah, and also the point that you make, right? Like it should be intuition. Like our intuition is, you know that thing that you feel when you know it's going to rain. You go outside, you go, going to rain today. That is an evolutionary, like that's
So
not just
true.
magic and sparkle.
Yeah.
Like we have evolved to be able to read the environment around us. And so our ability to recognize that it's going to rain is 1% of actually, if we're constantly engaged with nature and we rely on nature to survive, which we don't anymore because we rely on Tesco, but like we are so in tune as a species to be able to read the landscape, where the herds are going, where there's likely to be water, where the good wood is for chopping, and and I think like we're feeling that there's a deep rumbling like this isn't okay. And I think my Nature News story last week was that the berries are out. And it feels too early, like my gut is telling me it's too early. But then I read an article yesterday by Stephen Moss, which was like confirming what I thought, which was like the berries are coming out earlier, and it is a worry for our migrant species who come to the UK. Like, and it was a really weird like little synergy of me recognizing it in Nature News last week, but then an article yesterday by Stephen just going, no, absolutely, they're coming out earlier. And if our migrant thrushes, so our redwings and fieldfares and waxwings to some extent when they do come over here, they're coming over in October expecting abundance, but those berries have been rotting slowly for like 2 months on the trees because they're coming out too early. Like, I didn't know necessarily, I couldn't confirm that was wrong, but like my gut was like, that's weird.
You are right. Your gut says a lot of things. I mean, especially the more you're outdoors, which I think is like an even bigger kind of reason to spend time outside. I mean, I'm privileged to have my job where I'm outside 5 days a week, and you really do get connected with, people laugh at me, like my team always laugh at me, and I'm like, nah, not gonna rain, even though it's like gonna rain, and you just feel it.
Yeah, in your
I know it. I can
so
feel
we know it's not
exactly.
right, like the drought thing. But I think what shields us from that intuition is when you turn the tap, it comes on. And you can always buy the food in the supermarkets. And because we're not seeing the experience of natterjack toad, or shelduck, I think it was that you said, like, or some of the other species, like we're not in their world, and so we don't necessarily read it as acutely as they do. But, like you said, we've got a temperate climate, and, imagine, for example, like the rainforests, it didn't rain for like a week, right? So like, you might think, oh, that's all right, it's just a week. The reality is there are species that have completely evolved in the rainforest to survive off rainwater. So like little puddles of rainwater in the bit where a leaf leaves the branch is where essential. Something has its whole life.
Yeah.
And so it's there are worlds within worlds within worlds, and where we've existed now in our perception with our removal from it, it's very hard to sense the reality of, because also, this leads me into my story, which I'll go into in a minute with your permission. Which is very polite of me, if I'm honest.
That's overly polite. You don't need my permission.
In terms of how we trust our scientists, right? To tell us something's not okay, to tell us.
The other thing I would say, like, is like I agree with what you're saying there. Like, like we don't understand, or we're not acutely reliant on the natural world, its resources, as much as, well, we are reliant on it, but aware of that as much as our wild kin and stuff. But I think it's important to start talking about like how especially in England, our infrastructure and stuff like that is not built for this type of weather. And that will start to impact us. We feel the heat, but the buildings, I'm living in an old Edwardian building. That wasn't built in the time of 30 degrees Celsius. Like,
I slept at your house last week, and then windows, didn't they rattle?
I think because of the wind, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Because of the wind.
Because what else would it be? What were you insinuating?
The windows are rocking. Don't come knocking. But I mean, like, I remember talking to, you're going to take the piss out of me when I say this. I remember talking to a roofer who was like telling me, like, he's dealing with more and more leaks in the roof because you're going from this intense heat and intense heavy rain. Don't
talk to me about leaks. You can't talk to me about leaks.
But for a different reason. This is different. These are all like weather created. So it's the intense heat followed by intense downpours, and the roofs aren't built for that kind of stuff. So you're seeing these old buildings just suddenly letting in water. So I do think we need to start like talking about this kind of the conditions our temperate country is now being put under, that will start to not only impact our natural environment, but to impact our lives socially and practically as well, and therefore financially, because it's going to cost us money to adapt in these times. So I do think we need to start relating these topics as much to wildlife, as Helen has done beautifully in this article, but also saying this drought is important for us as well.
Shout out to Helena, who always reports on the good environmental things.
Absolutely. No, Helena, big shout out to
Totally.
her. What's your news story? What you got, Shake?
What you got, Shake? Well, I'll tell you what, I've got leaks. Let me tell you about that. Right, my kitchen ceiling fell in last month. I'm sure I've told you all before about
Why
it.
everything you say I hear is a euphemism?
That says more about you than it does
I know,
for me.
it really does. I don't know why.
What do you think what was the euphemism of my ceiling fell in?
It sounded like you shit yourself.
You what?
It sounded like you shit yourself. Oh, my kitchen roof just fell in.
Hang on a minute, I need to go.
Hang on. Need to go and see a roofer.
Pause the podcast.
Right, go on. What's your story?
Well, this is a story which is, I guess, just to bring you up to date with 40 years worth of work, really, and observation.
Strap yourselves in for a long story, nerds.
This isn't news, this is olds. So, for those of you young'uns out there,
Gen Zs.
of which there are many, probably the greatest listener of our podcast, yeah, Gen Zs?
Yeah. Do it quick, though, because they ain't got the attention.
Oh my God, this is why we stick down to half an hour. The Earth's protective ozone layer is on track to fully recover mid-century, according to a report from the UN's World Meteorological Organization released on Tuesday.
Wow.
So this is a bulletin hailed the success of international agreements like the Montreal Protocol, crediting them with sharply reducing the use of ozone-depleting chemicals and slowing the annual growth of the Antarctic ozone hole. So for young'uns and for old'uns alike, I'll just assume no one knows anything, but we created a chemical called CFCs, which is used in cooling systems. And it wasn't long before we recognised that those chemicals, those gases, were going up into our atmosphere, the CFC, chlorofluorocarbons. And what they did as a chemical, they reacted with the ozone. Ozone is a molecule, which is three. Look, I actually haven't checked this. I'm bringing this back from my either university or A-level.
I know, but no, it's funny because we say this so much on the podcast. I label this podcast under science, and more often than not, we say things like, look, I've not looked this up.
Look, I've not looked this up, but I'm fairly sure I'm right-ish.
My intuition.
What I'm about to share with you is right enough that it's going to provide you with solid knowledge, which could
Just
be right.
Just trust us, nerds.
So our ozone is a protective layer in our atmosphere made up of something called ozone, which I think is 3 oxygen molecules, which is fairly stable. However, when you throw up something called a CFC, there's a chemical reaction which reduces the amount of CFC, the much amount of ozone in the atmosphere. So scientists, do you remember scientists?
Yes, I do. Yes,
Yeah,
all of them.
yeah.
Lovely
They
people.
identified that this chemical reaction, this system within our atmosphere was happening, and they raised it with governments across the globe that this is going to be a problem, actually, that we're going to lose our ozone layer, which is a protective layer. What happened then was there was like a multilateral international support for doing something about this. And so globally, countries agreed to stop producing CFCs to stop the destruction of our environment. So that 1975 convention, which was about that, was followed by the Montreal Protocol, signed in 1987, which is a year after I was born, just showing my age, which aimed to phase out ozone-depleting substances found primarily in refrigeration, air conditioning and aerosol sprays. To date, that agreement has led to phase out over 99% of the production and consumption of controlled ozone-depleting substances. So it's now on track to recover to 1980s levels by the middle of this century, significantly reducing the risks of skin cancer, cataracts, and ecosystem damage due to excessive UV exposure. So it's like
Wow.
It's like imagine if the Earth had sun cream like we put on. That's what it is, and it was disappearing. And so the reason why I want to tell this story is because this is an example how in living memory and living history, it was possible globally for us to come together and make a united effort to change something to help the globe. And we did that. And we did that because we believed scientists. And we did that because we believed in the integrity of working together to save our planet, over capitalism, over consumption, and over making money for shareholders. So whilst the last 40 years has been absolutely catastrophic in terms of being able to work together in the rampant need for capitalism, wealth, GDP. It's a reminder that we have done it and we can do it again. And a lot of those people that were involved in that are still alive today. And it's a plea, really. And I think our listeners are already converted. If you're not, really, it should convert you. Yeah, we can do this again. You know, obviously we have COP every year. What does that even mean? Is it making a difference? And yeah, I think I just wanted to share that little story of hope, if that's okay. It can be done, and maybe we can get back there again today, because, you know, we can all be disheartened by what's happening in the world, but we must also hear stories of hope and remind ourselves that there is a way of working together. You know, I like saying the word unilaterally because I don't really know what it means, but I'm assuming it's really good.
Oh God, I hope it's really bad.
No, it's
I hope you've used it so much in your life and people are like, God, Nadia's
Ryan, we just need to work unilaterally.
Yeah.
Okay? To save the planet.
Let me just
Does
do
that
this.
make you feel better?
What you just said or this?
Look, wait, just wait there 2 seconds. I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength.
We're on the same wavelength today.
We're on the same wavelength.
A bit like the people part of the Montreal Protocol who were on the same wavelength about saving the planet.
Okay, no, that is a good story. Gives you hope. Or feeds your hope, which I guess is a good thing. You said you had another story before we pressed record today.
Yeah, just quickly. It's a
quick one.
I tell you what, I do like to squeeze in a quickie at the end of our podcast, don't I, Ryan? Hey?
I'm going to have an aneurysm one day with trying to hold in the several reactions I have to things you say.
The thing is, what listeners don't get the privilege of seeing is the state of Ryan's face as I talk. The absolute state of it.
We should do a live show on Instagram one day.
Well, we'll do a live show on Instagram.
Should we do a live one? Right now, let's do it.
Okay, we'll bring a live show because actually Ryan's face is worth the energy. So this is just to talk about bees. Bees? Can I talk about bees?
You can talk about bees. I love a bee.
Hang on, let's have a little sip just to. You know the hops that went into this was probably pollinated by bees.
It was. I just when you nipped off to take that beer, which the listeners will not know because I edited out the silence, but I looked at my can of Red Stripe.
Did you?
I was just admiring it.
Uh-huh.
And then I read on the side, I was like, oh, this is brewed in the UK by Heineken. So we're both drinking boycotted beers. I didn't know. Me
and Ryan, our personality type is hypocrisy. It is a personality type and we wear it really well.
Yeah, do you know what? We own it though. When we say, look, we messed that one up. We won't do that again. Okay. So this is the last time I'm drinking.
So this is a story about bees. So, you know, there's been a really successful campaign about bees over the years, which is we need to save our bees. We need to save our bees. You know, if you go into any garden centre, there will be a plethora of plants which have a little logo of a honeybee which says good for bees.
Yes.
And what that basically means... It's true. Thank confirmed by Ryan Dalton. What that means is that they are plants that create pollen, which is the food stuff of bees that they come and gather. And so there's this like recognition that actually we need more flowers because in our capitalist landscape, you know, the landscape is generally needed to be used for like building on or roads or growing food. It's not necessarily about taking care of our bees, but there's this recognition that we need more flowers, we need more wildflowers to to bloom so that they can have food, right? So I'm just going to read directly from this Guardian article. There is a huge swathe of pollinators, about 270 species of solitary bee and 25 species of bumblebee that are in real crisis and urgently need our help. Many of these threatened species are becoming rarer every year. And so there was a study on a small island off the coast of Italy called...
Go on.
So I'm not comfortable with this, but I'm going to give it a go.
What do you mean you're not comfortable pronouncing it?
Huh?
You're not comfortable pronouncing it?
No, never.
Try. Go on. I'm right behind you.
What's double N in Italian?
Just go
That's
for
the
it.
noise
Just
it
like
makes.
it's like you're jumping into a cold pond. Just go.
Dia Nutri.
Heavily relied on the accent there.
I know I did. Which has been doing this experiment where there was honeybees for quite a while, and they've banned honeybees. And what
They
noticed,
banned honeybees.
Well, no, what they wanted to take honeybees out of the ecosystem to see the effects. And actually, the presence of honeybees saw a massive decline in the solitary bees and bumblebees.
Wow.
So huge numbers of honeybees can actively harm wild bee populations because they outcompete for nectar and pollen. They can forage further than other bees, but also there can be as many as 50,000 of them in a hive, far more than the nests of native bees.
Yeah, that's mad.
It's not a problem when flowers are plentiful, but as we know, we deprioritise flowers in a landscape that needs to produce food crops. So this is a story which has amalgamated, I think, a few different studies, but really kind of pivoting on that one in Italy. But in July, there was a study published by Ken Lou James Hung, who's an assistant professor of biology at the University of Oklahoma. And 98% of bee biomass, that's the weight of all bees, 98% came from feral honeybees in the area that he was studying.
Sorry, stop.
And they removed 80% of pollen during the first day a flower opened.
I just need to process the term feral honeybee.
Yeah, I know. They will sting you.
They are just that
and shit on you as they fly away.
Sounds like an absolute mob.
Yeah, I know. Well, they are.
They are.
I tell you what, if you're a solitary bee or a bumblebee, they are feral as.
Yeah, should use another word for them.
They removed about 80% of pollen during the first day a flower opened. That's like Black Friday.
Incredible analogy.
You go in the day after Black Friday to buy some, and you're like, "There's nothing left."
Yeah, God, they've lapped it up.
So you're telling me that's not feral?
No, it is feral. I'm not doubting it. I'm just enjoying it.
So species. It says here, species aren't inherently good or bad, but there are circumstances in which the introduction of species to certain locations could be problematic. Just like goats and cats are introduced to oceanic islands, he added. That's a better analogy than Black Friday.
Yeah, it's a much better analogy. But
Such high rates of pollen extraction leave little for the more than 700 species of native bees in the region, which need pollen to raise. I say the region. This is a region in San Diego that this study was about,
yes,
as well as the Italian one, which need pollen to raise their offspring. Some of those species have not been seen for decades.
Jeez.
So this is something I think interesting around narrative and storytelling, where we say "save the bees, save the bees." The honeybee is native of African nations as well as Southern Europe, but they have been transported across the globe as the mechanism in agriculture. You know, people just think you put a seed in the ground, it grows, and then you can remove the crop. But actually, honeybees are shipped in crates to areas to pollinate. But yeah, honeybees were causing declines in wild populations for this particular Italian island. And I think it's just one of those things where, I mean, yeah, we just need to be aware of the impact that they have, I guess, these feral bees. So, it's another thing.
This is a reason why Nick Ackerson put them forward for his insecting creepy things at Bird Fair.
He did, and I was skeptical of him. I thought he was just like being a bit dramatic. I mean, I think he can be a bit dramatic as a man, really, sometimes. Shout out to you, Nick. Lovely Nick.
No, shout out to Nick Ackerson.
No, but come on, he was like, get rid of the Egyptian goose as well.
Oh, you're holding him accountable for that.
Nick, send me an email, it's fine.
No, it's why I put him forward. And like I said on that live show at Bird Fair, I said, I'd seen a honeybee kick a bumblebee off a flower. Witnessed it. It's aggressive energy.
Feral, almost.
Feral. It's feral energy.
But I guess it's about raising awareness of our solitary bees and bumblebees, and it's not just honeybees.
Yes.
Whilst honeybees are really important, but some really clear actions that you can take is anything that comes around signing petitions against the use of pesticides, but also personally ditching the weed killer and planting more flower producing plants, particularly native. Ask around. Like, there'll be pals of yours that can do some seed collection at the end of summer and then scatter those.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say, like looking locally, like you don't always have to go high. I mean, we should go higher level as well, but talking to your community around you, family, friends, neighbours and stuff, and whether it's your campaigning locally, if you see a council member, for example, spraying, immediately write to your MP and say, why is this happening, and maybe get some
write to your MP.
Yeah, and what
I said punch them.
Just punch them. Yeah, just absolutely floor them. But talk to your neighbours and see if you can build up some sort of campaign locally to say we don't want this happening. It's happened in our area.
It's such a when people are like wanting to understand how they can make change, people are so scared of enacting their democratic right or their democratic ability. You can, if you notice that spray is being sprayed in your local area, or meadows are being cut down, or things are being mown before the end of August. You can just write in and get several people to write in. The councils, people will listen. Use it as if you've never done a local campaign before to make change. If there's one patch of ground, fight for it. And also as well, don't be turning over the earth too much in your garden. Or solitary bees and bumblebees nest in the ground, and so when you start digging over the earth, you're ruining those nests. Just leave areas, like just sit on your hands, take up knitting.
Not an action that I thought was going to be delivered on this
neither
podcast.
Did I, but what are you going to do? Anyway, that's my other story this week, and I think I've brought us to time.
No, we're definitely over. But
okay.
But I like your optimism. Well, no, do you want to close this episode off?
I'd love to close this episode because I've been practicing for a really long time. Thank you so much, nerds, for listening for week 2 of our autumn season of Nature News, also known as week 25. 4 of Nature News. And so if you're not following us already on social media, you definitely should, because that's where fun stuff happens, which is Into the Wild, at Into the Wild Pod, or at Into the Wild.
It will come up.
On Instagram and probably the other social channels as well, if I'm honest with you. I don't know whether we use Twitter anymore. And yeah, so follow us on there. And you can also, and honestly, like, when you get asked to donate for things and you just think, I'll do it later, and you never do. Just do it now for the bees, if I'm honest. Because, like, Ryan and I, we don't take a wage from this. We do it for free, but it does cost to run the podcast. And so if you can just drop us £3 a month or daily, whatever fits your
daily.
Well, I don't know.
If someone could give us £700 a month, that would be great.
Okay. Well, some people have got their monies, but it would be really good if you could just throw us some cash. We put that money always back into the podcast so we can keep doing what we're doing, which is, I guess, hopefully bringing joy into your life through a nature lens. So do that, and there's probably something else I'm forgetting, and I'm looking to Ryan for a face of knowledge.
Do you know what? I will say, whatever platform you're listening on, nerds, do give us a review. But I also will say, you that was a lot better than your first attempt.
It was, and actually, reviews really make a huge difference. And
they
to be
actually
honest with
do.
You, it could be fun for you, because sometimes it's really hard to know how to contribute, and you think, oh God, I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, just
leave a
words.
review. And also,
or just
actually, wait, better than a review. No, but
put us in your story.
Do you know what? You just recommend it to a friend. Recommend it to a friend.
Put us in your Instagram story, tag us, anything like that really does spread the awareness of the podcast. And like Nadia said, it really does help. So.
Look, if I start getting tagged in your stories, I will start doing more funny things on Instagram.
I don't know if that's a motivation or a discouragement.
I think it's great. But thank you so much, nerds, for tuning in. Until next week, have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.